All right, welcome, guys, all coffee lovers. As you know, as you guys know, the whole purpose of this podcast is to get to know all my friends and everybody in the coffee industry and everybody that has influence in my life in one way or another. Uh, with all this happening in 2020 with COVID dying and COVID-19 and all the protests that are happening for Black Lives Matter, I feel like I'm not well educated in that, and I wanted to get in touch with a close friend of mine, which is Ray, also known as Ray El Barbon.
El Barbón, not too Barbón no more.
I got to know him at one of our jobs, which is Dollar Shave Club, and I think he can express himself pretty well as far as the whole protest of Black Lives Matter go, and he has a really good input on everything that's happening. So I just wanted to sit down with him and see if he can teach me something or I can learn something new, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not a teacher. With this disclaimer, I am not a teacher, and I am not I'm definitely not the one who should be leading the charge. But
I get it, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying for anybody that's listening, I don't want anybody thinking like I'm some kind of like political organizer or anything like that. As much as I've been involved in stuff and I'm I've been active. I just don't want people thinking like, hey man, let me just run behind this guy. He knows.
No, I understand. Like even I guess even people of color would say that, right?
Yeah, of course.
We're not. I mean, I'm not. Like I said, I'm not well educated, or I know very little, and I'm pretty sure like you're educating yourself as well.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I grew up not knowing, like, I mean, not being racist or not being anything. Like my family raised me into like everybody's equal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I have mixed emotions with everything that's happening because for me, I never mistreated anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and with all this protests and stuff happening, like I feel like it's such a sensitive topic, you know?
It is. It definitely is.
And I just like try not to say the wrong thing or offend anyone. That's like the biggest fear, obviously.
Fucking good luck, man.
Yeah. So.
Oh, can I curse? I didn't.
No, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, cool.
Yeah, you can definitely.
I don't know how much
yourself.
of my thing I could do because that
no,
is definitely
dude, be
one of my
yourself.
things.
You know, that's the beauty of. That's what I want to be able to capture. You know.
Yeah. And what's the name of your podcast again?
It is Juan Loves Coffee.
Juan Loves Coffee.
Yeah, dude.
Love it.
Yeah.
You do love coffee.
I do. You know, I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
There's the whole artistic part of it, which
Yeah.
I fell in love with, and there's a lot to it. You know, it's such a big thing from being a barista to, being a roaster to manager coffee shop or even owning your own coffee shop.
Yeah.
You know, there's people that get paid for just tasting coffee, dude.
Yeah.
And they get pretty good money.
And honestly, that's a whole field. But I think I've learned the most about just like baristas and like even the competitions that you guys and all through you. I didn't even know that was a whole world.
There's a whole world.
It's like podcasting. Now that you kind of started the podcast, there's a whole fucking world of podcasters out there. There's so many. Like obviously we're not all professionals.
Not at all.
But there is a ton of people doing it, And it's like when you get into it, you definitely.
And I keep mentioning this, like seeing that there's a lot of people doing it. Like there was a mental block for me where it's like, don't do it because everybody's already doing it. You know. So for me, I think that's what held me back a little.
Yeah.
And but the main goal right now is just to get as many people I know onto the podcast and sort of like just see who they are.
Yep.
You know, you're not really into coffee. You know, you're a coffee drinker. You know, because I met you at the office where we work at. You know, Can you tell us a little bit about where you work?
So I work at Dollar Shave Club. I'm essentially a customer service rep. I work on the social media team and a couple other little things, little cross-functional stuff we do there. But it's pretty much what I do there. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. So it was actually the first time I saw the ad for that company. I was trying to apply, and then the day I had my in-person interview, I showed up.
Uh-huh.
And I told the lady, I just came to tell her that I'm not going to take the job, but I just wanted to show up in person saying that I'm not going to take the job. You know, she's like,
"You're hired."
No, she said a phone call would have been sufficient. Like, oh, I just, because I already had set this up. I don't want to like make you think like I was just wasting your time. So that's why I showed up. And the reason why I rejected the opportunity the first time is because being such a big company and a startup and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. The first thing that crossed my head was, well, if they start making pay cuts, the first person that's going to go is the barista, dude. You know,
Yeah.
It's like they don't need to give coffee to their employees. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that freaked me out a little.
Yeah.
And then a year later, I was like, man, I want to do something else. And then my wife at that time, I had told her, and she came across the ad again on Craigslist, and she said, you should give it a shot. You know, like the fact that they're still looking, that means they have kept their coffee shop. You know.
Yeah.
And so I said, yeah, I'll just give it a shot. So honestly, I emailed them and I submitted my resume, not thinking I was gonna get the job.
Yeah.
And then within like that same afternoon, they reached out and said, hey, can we talk? And it was fast, man. They hire me pretty fast.
Yeah, they're definitely like I've had probably like over a dozen jobs in my life, and one of those jobs I had for 10 years. So that tells you like how quickly I went through the other ones. But they operate differently,
Yeah.
like just culturally, I guess. I don't know, like the work culture that they create there.
Yeah. Well, what I've noticed is they're really organized. Like they have a
100%.
team for everything. Right?
Everything.
And I think that really makes it function really
Yeah.
well.
Is it? I said this jokingly the other day, but I think there's a little bit of truth in it. When all these like COVID reports and all the information's been coming out from like the state level and the from the presidential level and all that, we have our stuff that comes out.
Yeah.
And I always say that when we present our data, our information and whatnot, I feel more. I trust that information more than I do like, the state level information at times, or like shit coming out of the White House.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. I know I know how thorough they are. I know how meticulous they are in collecting their information before they present stuff. So yeah, they definitely go about it a different way for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like it's the single fact that HR departments within house,
Mhm.
because so everything gets communicated pretty fast rather than having the manager communicate to the general
The
manager
trickle.
and
Yeah.
then to HR or home office.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, and obviously they have a team that does the homework before they even communicate
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, and they're very good about it, letting empowering their employees for the most part.
Yeah.
As far as voicing their concerns or opinions, or
Exactly.
at least as from my experience,
Yeah.
I've only been there for less than 2 years, but like I said, I've had many jobs before, and as somebody who's been retaliated against for stirring the pot in a previous job, and literally like just breaking it down, like just
Yeah.
saying something to say, hey, that's not our policy, and that was considered, hey, I'm stirring the pot,
Yeah.
to the point where after 10 years they were like, you know what, we don't need you, and all because I was doing the right thing in my opinion,
Yeah.
not cutting corners and not doing a lot of stuff that I would say Wells Fargo used to do. I'm not naming names right now, but because I am still kind of involved in a legal dispute with them about it. But yeah, I will be saying names pretty soon. But yeah, it was a financial institution. I've said this before, so if you ever want to dig up an old podcast, I probably said the name back then. But yeah, it was a finance company that I worked for. They're a piece of shit company. They're one of
Yeah.
those companies that's a problem in this country, and they target lower income communities, middle class communities. They redline these neighborhoods, and they put people in these cycles of debt. They're charging 35.99% interest rates on loans. It's like, so you're essentially, if you really wanted to simplify it, if you borrow $5,000 from us, when you're finished paying that loan in 5 years, you're paying us back about between $15,000 to $20,000.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it's like, and I understand their niche and I understand their reasoning. They're a subprime company. So if a bank is not going to lend you the money, they're the next step. They're the next step. You're a little riskier. I get that, but it shouldn't be to the point that they operate in, and it shouldn't operate in the system that they created for it, because they literally created a system of keeping people borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, and even like their calculations that they use are not fundamentally sound, because they're trying to determine, hey, can you pay this loan back off of your gross income? How much of your gross income do you actually use? Your gross income comes before taxes. So if my gross income is $5,000 in a month, but I'm only really seeing $3,500 after taxes, if you're basing me being able to pay this loan off of the money that I don't have,
Yeah.
how is that really a sound, like a sound judgment?
Yeah, the fact that they actually loan the money, because a lot of companies will not loan the money knowing that
Yeah.
the person taking the money won't be able to pay it back.
I've also been discriminated when I bought my house. We're actually sitting here in my house right now. I bought this home almost 7 years ago, and it was a pain in the ass to buy this home. I did the loan process myself, and Wells Fargo discriminated against us with one of their rehab loans.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and not maybe to some other people you might say, like, oh, that's crazy, this and that. No, but I mean, I worked in the finance field for 10 years, and the shit that they were telling me, I was like, I don't have the education that I'm assuming a lot of these higher execs have, and I
Yeah.
could calculate these ratios for you in 15 minutes. So why are you taking 60 days to tell me that I don't qualify for this when this is an easy 2-3 day application at the most? Like if you really want to dig into it.
Yeah, that's the hard part because going back to like our workplace, right? Our
Mhm.
workplace is great right now.
Mhm.
It's doing everything they can possible to not discriminate or anything.
Mhm.
But like you said, with this financial institution that discriminates, I've met some people in my life where applying for a company like like a well-established company,
Mhm.
say even where we work, and
Yeah.
and just the simple reason of reading their names, right? Like, I mean, you're Ray, and I don't know how you spell Ray, Rey
Como
or
rey.
right in Spanish,
Como
right? So
rey.
that's the thing. If say we were both applying at the same job, or our friend whose name is John or Matthew,
Yeah, I already know where you're going with this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the crazy part,
It's the difference between Jose and Joe.
like, dude, it's
Because
crazy,
if I
dude.
tell you my name is Reynaldo.
Yeah.
But guess why I go by Ray?
Yeah. I mean, that whole discrimination of like,
100%, dude. And people that say that's not a thing don't know it's a thing because it's never affected them.
yeah,
Like I've been locked up by cops that have overextended their fucking power. Like when I was 19, I got into it with a fucking LA County sheriff. A real stupid dispute, but it's a perfect example of like the stuff that they're talking about right now with cops. And it doesn't seem like a big deal. Yeah, I didn't get my ass blasted, luckily, but I was face down on the fucking pavement in the summer, 90-degree weather, face down with handcuffs. All because this dude just decided he could do it. Not because I did anything wrong.
yeah,
And it took me over a fucking year just to go to court to fight this shit. And I got it expunged and everything, but that's a small like taste. Like what I tell people right now, like with everything that's going on, is like you don't need social media to tell you. Like I post a lot of shit, and the reason I post a lot of shit is because I'm a big mouth. So when all this stuff was going down, I really felt really helpless, and that's like a thing that I deal with a lot because it's that inaction, that I kind of fall into sometimes where I just feel so helpless that I don't do anything because I don't feel like I can do anything or anything I do will make a difference. Yeah, because maybe I can't fucking oust dipshit Trump out of the fucking White House, but I can help out some folks that are struggling on the corner that maybe they just need a fucking water.
yeah,
And it might seem like a really minuscule thing, but the action is really where the difference takes place with us. And it's like if you have your community taking action, you're talking about hundreds and thousands of people taking action. You don't need LeBron James to fucking save us.
yeah.
LeBron James might be the spark and he might be the guide that maybe brings attention to it. But on a local level, we can all do something. Like we can all do something, and it's that inaction. I think that's really a big problem a lot of the times with us.
No, and you're right, dude. I mean, the first thing that came into mind when all this sort of like broke loose, right? The word you said was helpless, and that's exactly how it felt.
Yeah.
Especially being an immigrant. Like,
Mhm.
for me, there's feeling helpless, and also there's also fear of what if I go out there, or like what if they detain me, I
Mhm.
get deported,
Yep.
and all this stuff. So there's a lot of fear and feeling helpless,
Yep.
not knowing what I can actually do.
Mhm.
And I know there's the whole protesting, marching, and being out there in front line, and volume speaks, but there's also that big fear of, you know, would I if I get arrested, because I'm on another deferred action, right? And if I get arrested or anything happens, then so that really affects
Of course.
my permit and stuff.
Of
So
course. And it'll crumble your life.
correct.
Because if you go into that system, you just I mean, I've had that. I've had families in my family where they're on the verge of getting deported. And we're talking about tios and tias, uncles and aunts that have been here for fucking 20 years. That they're like, hey, we might get deported soon. And now you're talking about, hey, but our kids are born here, so they don't
Yeah.
have to get deported. So what happens there? You're telling me now you split up a family that's been here, been paying taxes. Off of what? It's off of the fucking idea that they don't deserve to be here. And who put that idea into place? Motherfuckers that came here and took this fucking land.
Exactly.
Laws are bullshit. Money is bullshit. Economy is bullshit. Businesses are bullshit. Those are all things that can be replaced.
Yeah, dude.
And when people start fucking speaking as like, oh, but think of the economy and think, you know what? Print some more fucking paper out.
Yeah.
You know what? Fucking put a freeze on LEDWP and all these utility companies that are charging an arm and a leg. Because I could easily walk in right now and come and pop my fucking LEDWP building on here, and you'll be like, what the fuck? I live in the hood, and I have a family, and we're pretty good about trying to, conserve water, and we have bamboo toilet paper. Put it that way. Like, we try to do whatever we can in order, even if it's a small thing, just to kind of help with the environment and
Environment.
stuff like that. But it really, like, so kind of going back to my original point, I was saying that when all this started happening, this has been one thing, but like when we were talking earlier, there's like so many things that are on the backdrop. Like, police brutality is a big thing right now. Protests, rallies, COVID, all this shit is like prevalent, and it's like at the forefront of everything, right? But at the same time, I still have bills to pay. I'm
Yeah.
still behind on bills. I still have children with medical conditions, with health conditions. I'm still fighting the school districts on their lack of fucking providing the resource for my kids. I'm in the fucking middle of a lawsuit with my fucking school district right now for my kid that I've been fighting them for the last 3 years about them putting him through this system that we created with the school system. It's bullshit. It's another fucking problem in this country, aside from police, aside from the privatized prisons, aside from detention centers. This whole country was created as a company, essentially,
Yeah.
is what it seems like. And
No,
we're their fucking consumers.
yeah. What I really feel is it comes down to power, right? Like
100%.
they want to definitely they want us to have leaders so that we can follow certain rules.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the biggest thing I feel is that everything we learn through our past generations is sort of like what's led us to where we are right now.
Exactly.
Because like I was raised in a Mexican family. I was born in Mexico, and I never really witnessed any of that, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I never discriminated anyone. I never said anything bad about my neighbor or anything,
Mhm.
because I grew up working as a team, like
Yeah.
helping each other out.
The community.
Community, yeah, and especially being from a small village, like
Mhm.
the smallest thing, like throwing a birthday party or a big wedding party.
Everybody wants to come.
Everybody shows up, dude, and
Everybody brings something.
exactly,
And it's not like, hey, well, they didn't ask me. It's like
yeah,
they fucking bring it and they push it on you,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like,
So
dude, how many times I've been to Mexico, and when I go, my fucking family won't let me pay for anything. Like,
exactly.
they refuse to.
Yeah, and that's still engraved in me. Like most of the things I do in life, it's everything I learned there.
Yeah.
So when I see everything that's happening with with like the cops and everything on the news and stuff, it's like, there's obviously there is still a problem, and part of that is because either their parents or their grandparents, they still come from that mentality of like, this is the right way to do it, or
Yeah.
so
You're a product of your environment.
exactly.
And I've had this conversation with a lot of people who have been saying like all lives matter, or there's some good cops and all that stuff. And obviously, people that don't know me, I'm all about defund the fucking cops. This is bullshit. Every fucking cop, when they're operating inside of that system, is a fucking problem. Like, I didn't understand what the all cops are bad cops thing was before, because I used to be, and I'm talking about it used to be as far as a year ago. I used to say, no, I believe the system's fucked up, and I believe there is a shit ton of fucked up cops, but I believe there's good cops. So I never really understood the whole all cops are bad cops. Now, getting more like context, reading up more, kind of being more active in the actual, I guess, in the conversation, I've learned that the real meaning behind it is not so much that the people that are cops are necessarily bad, but when you're operating in that structure, you are operating as the screwdriver, as the Philip Flathead, the wrench for that system. Because without cops locking people up and putting their fucking knees on people's on their necks, the system doesn't do shit.
Yeah.
The system is ineffective. So it's like saying, hey, oh, there was some good Nazi soldiers. No,
No, there weren't.
facts, 100%. Nah, they might have not killed the motherfucker that ended up in an oven, but they put him in there.
Yeah, but the simple fact that
And
they
then
were
stop it.
following,
Exactly.
that
It's what's there's a phrase for it. It's like you're pretty much you're an accomplice essentially, because you're just a part of it, pretty much. But yeah, I just think this is my personal philosophy, but it's personally, I've just, as a 36-year-old man in my lifetime, growing up the shit that I've experienced, seeing the stuff that I see going on in the world, and never being one to really just kind of fall behind somebody just because of it. I've usually been that guy that's like, oh God, here goes Ray again. Oh God. And that's fine. And I've always accepted that role, because I understand that a lot of people don't want to be in the forefront, and they don't want to fucking use their mouth. And I understand now, kind of leading back to what I was saying originally, was when this all is happening, I was like, I'm so helpless. I feel helpless. I started thinking, like, what the fuck can I do? I just need to do something. So I've been out to protest. I've been out to a bunch of protests already. I'm talking to people around me. I'm trying to put content out aside from what people are saying. Oh, yeah, these fucking looters and these protests. Like, nah, man. Did you see the piece of content I put out today?
Yeah.
That beautiful fucking vigil in Colorado for Elijah
With the
McClain.
violence.
Yeah, with the
Yeah.
violence.
It
What the
was
fuck?
beautiful.
Beautiful, dude. And if you've been out in these protests, you will see the fucking community that goes on there. There are people that just bring food, water, snacks, and they're just handing them out. They're just handing them out. And people are out there dancing. People are out there providing for everybody around them. And yes, it does get contentious sometimes. I've been
Yeah.
to vigils. I've been to rallies, peaceful rallies. I've been to stuff that's a little bit more contentious. I was at the Andres Guardado rally at the sheriff's station on Sunday. And that shit got kind of, yeah, and you get fucking scared. I'm not saying when I'm out there, I'm not terrified. Dude, I am fucking terrified. But I'm out there, bro, because it's like, to me, it's like, if that's what's going to stop you, then why are we wondering where we're at as a country and as a
Yes.
community? You know, it's like, if you losing your job is what's going to stop you from saying, hey, my coworker just did some fucked up shit, then what the fuck does that say about you? I don't think, going back to the cop thing, is that if cops are so good and there's so many good cops, then where are the good cops that are forming fucking protests and work strikes right now?
Yeah.
Where are the ones? Because if there's so fucking many of them, then they should have no problem finding the other cops to piece up with, right?
And that goes back to what happened, the tragedy with Dorner, dude. I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
he was one of those good people, right, that wanted to bring up something that was a problem, and the fact that his leaders didn't do anything about it, that's what took him over the edge.
Yeah, 100%. And funny thing is, I used to work at that finance company. I had a couple of clients that were actual LAPD officers during that little 2-week span that was going on. So I actually had conversations with LAPD officers during that time just to kind of get their idea, like, what was going on. And a lot of them just weren't really in the know, like, as far as, I had one specific person who they told me, they're like, yeah, and I'm being vague because I don't want to put people out there. I would ask them about what was going on, and they were like, yeah, I didn't really know him too well. He's a little awkward, but I didn't really know. But they were gung ho, and they were part of the, they were out there behind these fools, fucking chasing them down, and it's all because it's like that sheep mentality. And I'm not saying I don't fall up as into that at times, because I think it's a ploy, so it's easily for humans to fall into that follow mentality, right? But it's about snapping yourself out of it when you're like, hey, whoa, why the fuck am I following?
Well, that's the thing. Like, we're human, dude. Like, we learn and we make mistakes and all this and that. So yeah, I mean, just like cops are humans too. Like, they're afraid of certain things,
100%.
right? They're afraid for their life every time they go out there.
100%.
Yeah, it's their job.
And I have friends who are cops, and like I said, I've had these conversations with my friends who are cops. The ones that I know. I've had conversations with people in these lines of work, and yeah, they're not pleasant conversations to have, and they're definitely not, But I have them because they're tough conversations to have, and regardless if I put my fucking target on myself by doing it, maybe it sparks something in that person, maybe, because I'm telling you, like, I'm talking to people that I know that grew up like fuck the police, that were in the hood, that we were fucking discriminated, we were targeted by police, we were getting pulled over just for walking to the park by cops because we looked suspicious. A fucking group of 14, 13, 15-year-old Latinos and shit walking to the park to play football. But we were just literally going around to our friends' houses asking, hey, do you want to come play football with us? Asking their parents, hey, can so-and-so come play football with us? Here we are walking to the fucking park, and we're getting pulled over by IPD, Inglewood PD, because, we look suspicious, or they were looking for somebody. And to us, it wasn't no big thing. We went up against the wall, and they searched us, and they did what they did, and this was a normal part of our lives.
Yeah.
But now I'll reflect on it in 2020, and you realize, like, that, dude,
That
what
was
the
discrimination.
100%, bro. I dare a fucking cop to pull over my fucking kid on the fucking side of the street for doing shit and watch me get up in his ass.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to get fucking. I was locked up before for fucking. I didn't give a fuck that the guy was a cop. I don't give a fuck about that shit because it really boils down to right and wrong. And when people start bringing in like, oh, but policies and this, and that is, as human beings, we have a habit of bogging shit down, complicating shit. Everything we do. Computers are great. Technology is great. But when it fucks up, how helpless and how useless are we?
I tell people that all the time.
All the time, bro. Sometimes I just want to go back to a pager, man. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting rid of the cell phone, get a landline, and get a pager.
Well, yeah, even going back to that, like, I feel like before, even the media was a lot more controlled because of that. Like, before, printing something on the paper took a little longer, or there was always someone saying like, well, don't print that or don't put that on the paper. Versus now that we have all these electronic devices that everything goes up onto the social media, like,
You
within
completely,
seconds.
you go around all the agendas.
Yeah.
And that's also a reason why I put out what I put. Is I follow a lot of, I don't really like to follow big box media. I pay attention to it just to kind of see what they're saying, but I follow like a lot of smaller local journalists. Like, you heard of LA Taco? LA Taco is a
Yeah.
great fucking local. They publish a lot of local writers. There's a lot of people out in the field right now. They're doing the work. They're out there recording these fucking protests. They're in the middle of these fucking, gas canisters getting shot and stuff like that. They're there and they're writing pieces on it. And instead of watching the people around you, you're like, let me listen to what fucking what's his face has to say on CNN.
Yeah.
Why? Like, you already, if you know the historical context of this country, you know that that's what they use to control us. Even as sports fans, like, I'm a big fucking sports fan, but it drives me crazy that I see this shit go on. Like, ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, that's their fucking tagline. These motherfuckers own so much space in the sports community and they control so many minds that they themselves are really, they're really playing us for fools when they think that we don't understand what they're doing. They're like, hey, we got to get sports back into the swing of things. No, we don't. And I'm the first one that I'm like, dude, give me fucking center court fucking tickets, and I'm watching LeBron and AD fucking streaking down the court, lob to him, whatever. I'm the first one that props his feet up and will watch an NBA game. But right now is not the fucking time. So these big box companies that do this kind of stuff, it all really breaks down to if you want to keep it simple, is divide and conquer. That's the narrative in this country. That's how we divide here. That's how we divide around the world. That's how we've been able to accumulate the power we've accumulated over our history.
No, that's exactly how I feel. It's just the power. It's like the cops patrolling the streets are like, well, I want to make sure they know that I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
you don't need to.
That,
yeah. What the fuck does it matter? Why? You're a public servant.
Exactly.
But that's the part that doesn't get stressed. You're a public servant, my friend. And on the side of a fucking car, it does not tell you who they serve. Yeah. If you look at historical context of why cops were put in place, and I'm telling you this as somebody who had somebody else telling him this for like a decade. Like, I have friends that are very politically active, and they've been politically active well before all this. And they were the ones pushing this stuff to me. And I was just holding on to my opinions, but I was never as engaged as them. And now that I'm engaged, and I'm not even gonna say as much as them, I see what they were saying now. I get the freaking issues that are at hand now. And I get that, no sports right now is a first world problem, man. Dude, people that
be, dude.
Not at all, man. I had to talk to a friend of mine who lives up in a well-off neighborhood. I'll say that. He's a white guy, lives in a well-off neighborhood. And he's a friend of mine. He's a good kid, man. He's a good fucking kid. Like, I've enjoyed knowing him, but he's been one of those people that's also been out there dividing the message that's at hand. The message at hand right now is Black Lives Matter. The message at hand right now is defund the police. Yeah. The message at hand is push this fucking People's Budget LA plan through in LA. Those are the three messages that I'm pushing right now. And anything outside of that is divisive. All lives matter, great. I understand that. It's not the message right now. And if you understand the Black Lives Matter message, you understand that that's within that context. Yeah. But anybody who goes and says that, one, doesn't know what the fuck the Black Lives Matter movement is really about, and two, doesn't understand that how divisive and how harmful those comments are when they're inserting those opinions into conversations.
No, yeah, and I see that even within family, right? Because
100%.
I was trying to have a conversation with one of my brothers, because he, like you said, he was posting things on social media of like, well, what about brown lives?
Right?
Yeah,
yes, that's another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're Latinos, and so they're seeing all these other stories on the news where, like, the paletero man's being attacked, vendors on the street.
ICE is fucking spraying chemicals all over our fucking people in detention centers.
Yeah, little kids mm-hmm. who are being traumatized, and they're being separated at a young age, and then when their parents show up, they're like, what the hell,
Mm-hmm. And then they're not even fighting their parents. They're not even reuniting them with their families at the end of it. A lot of them, thousands of them.
So yeah, that was a pretty hard conversation to have, because it's like, well, why should Black Lives Matter when we have like our brown people who are struggling too? But it's like just trying to reach out to them and say, well, it does matter. Like, everything matters, right?
100%.
But at this specific moment, like, the Black Lives Movement
is the focus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the thing is, going down to history, dude, like, it's been pretty brutal,
100%.
Like, just rewatching history, like movies or reading on what happened, like the simple fact that we're coming up on July 4th and, Declaration of Independence was adopted. Mm-hmm. It was just, all those people that created that, like, they had slaves, right? They had, like, so that comes way
Yeah.
back in history, dude.
Uh-huh.
So
But that's the founding principle, and it's like we've never flipped that principle. We've maybe like made amendments to it, but the founding part has always been there. It's like, how do you? It's like what people are saying about the statues and shit. I'm like, fuck them, fuck every one of those
yeah,
statues, bring them all down. I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying, like, people say like, oh, that's crazy, that you're going too far. No, going too far is building a fucking country on a lie about Christopher Columbus coming here and founding this, and us propping him up on a pedestal for how long as the founding father, and oh my god, we should all, Christopher Columbus came here and he was a fucking pioneer. No, and now we're finding out, you know what, he wasn't.
he
This
wasn't.
motherfucker came and massacred thousands of
No,
people.
and what's crazy is in Mexico, my history class, dude, like they teach us all that,
Yeah, exactly, but
So
here they don't.
they don't.
They
Yeah,
don't.
the education here is a little different. When I started here, it was very different. Like over there in Mexico, we had eventually what you would call periods, but it was with what's crazy is how one teacher knows it all over there, dude. Over here you switch different teachers who specialize in
Yeah.
a specific subject.
Hmm.
But over there, they give us our books. They show us how to take care of our books and everything. How to wrap them in plastic so they won't like fray or
Yeah.
break and stuff. But just the way they taught us history, from all over the world and not
Yeah.
necessarily just from Mexico,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like you said, with Christopher Columbus and stuff, like I got to learn all that, and I got to see the whole different perspective, and not just the idolized person
Yeah.
that they put him up to be.
Yeah, and it kind of goes to another thing that I've noticed with a lot of people. A lot of people right now are getting very defensive. When you have these conversations, they get defensive, and this is something I tell them a lot of times when I see it. I don't want to always just say, "Hey, you're being defensive," but I always question them when they say something to me that sounds defensive to me. I'm like, why? Why do you? It almost sounds like they're the ones being targeted. Like I've had friends who, they're half white, half Latino, but they look white as fuck, dude. I'm talking about blonde hair, blue eyes, pinche fucking gringo a la madre, dude, like 100%, right? And they're worried because they also work in the delivery parcel business. So they're like, oh, well, I don't want, my shit looted. And I'm like, okay, but you work for a company. So if that's the case,
Yeah.
just step aside and let them
It's
do what
not.
they
Yeah, it's
do.
not really their money
Yeah,
that's being
put an
hurt,
insurance
you know?
claim in. Boom, all settled.
Yeah.
But the way it came off to me is that he felt like he was the target, and I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, if you're not the target, it literally just takes put up a fucking fist in unity, bro. That's literally. It sounds stupid to say, but if you're in a place like that, and I'm speaking as somebody who grew up on 78th and Hoover in 1992 when the fucking LA riots broke
Right.
out. So, and I live right off Crenshaw and Florence now, so less than a mile from where it actually started. Still, and this is 2020. So I'm not speaking as of, oh, this is a new thing to me. I was like, I've seen this as a 8-year-old boy. I'm seeing this as a 36-year-old man, and I'm
Yeah.
filling in the gaps with my personal experience and with information that I've been given. It's like, that's where I'm getting. I don't need to have a fucking degree. I don't need to know the fucking intricacies of economics and shit to understand. Bad. Do not shoot motherfuckers in the back.
Yes.
And if you are shooting them in the back and you're not doing shit about them, bad.
That is
That's
very
also bad. If you're breaking the same policies that you're supposedly holding up, bad. Why are we not doing anything about it? Oh, because that's the law and that's the policy. Then change it. There are these things called amendments. And I'm sorry that they're so complicated, but why are they so complicated?
Yeah, but even like you said, even having laws, like there's still rules, right? Like
Exactly.
for each officer that takes that step into like pulling an actual firearm, knowing that they have a taser or they have a baton, right? I get the baton causes a lot of damage as well, but why reach for that firearm, right? Obviously, I guess it's the fear that they have.
Mhm.
And for the people that are getting a little defensive, like you said, and I've encountered some people like that too.
So why?
Yeah,
Why are you so defensive?
and for me, it's like the only reason why you feel like this is because you've never experienced it. No, I'm good. Yeah, and so I tell them like the only reason why you're acting like this is because you haven't personally experienced it.
Exactly.
And it goes back to even people with COVID-19 that didn't want to wear a mask.
Mhm.
It's like family members of mine who used to still get together, and I was
Yep.
like,
And it's-
please, like,
don't.
listen, like they're telling us to stay away for a reason.
Yep.
But like I told them, like the only reason why you guys are are acting this way, or even people who are protesting to open like their barbers or
Mm-hmm.
open the White House and stuff. Um, the only reason why they're acting the way they do is because they haven't experienced even getting sick with COVID-19, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once, say, a family member
Shit gets
or
real.
yeah, dude, that's
Shit
when
gets
the whole
really real.
mentality changes, right?
Uh-huh.
And same thing with what's happening right now with Black Lives Matter. Seeing everybody getting hurt or getting killed for the matter, that is like, I don't know. As a human, I have emotions, and seeing that like really angers me. Like,
It's super, and you should be. And
yeah,
that just says that you're a fucking good human being. Because I put myself in the position, if I was there when George Floyd went down, what would I have done? And part of me now is like, damn, I'm kind of coming to the discussion with myself where I feel like at some point I will be put in a situation like that where a cop
yeah,
is doing something. And it's like, what do you do at that point? Do you let them fuck them up because you're scared? I honestly battle with myself. Like, would I at least try to jump in there, even if it meant me getting my ass beat?
yeah. No, I've thought about that too.
And it's like, but it's a real thing. It's a real discussion. But it's also because our culture now is, and here we are, guys, in South Central LA. I don't know if you guys heard that, but yeah, welcome to South Central LA.
Yeah,
But yeah, you should be upset with that stuff. But yeah, it's a real conversation. We've gone to our culture now is so disconnected through phones and shit, where it's like we literally put the phone in front of us, and now it's like a shield from reality.
yeah,
Because now we're looking at through the phone, and it's not a thing that's really happening around us. I'll share this kind of story that I recently went through before the Black Lives Matter movement got going, and we were already in the pandemic. But I had a dog, and I'm saying this more because of what I learned in the story. But we had our family dog Sam. His name was Sam. We had him for years. He was a part of our family. I've always had animals. I grew up in a Mexican family. I grew up in DF. I came here. I didn't become a citizen until my 20s. People don't realize that because I look like a straight up white guy.
yeah.
And I tell people, but think about that. I look like a straight up white dude, bro. Like
You
I get
are a shade
confused.
lighter, man. You are a
Reynaldo
shade-
Ramirez, way. Reynaldo Ramirez, and I still get Caucasian put on my ticket, even after they see my fucking ID.
Yeah,
They still put Caucasian. And I'm like, yeah, it's just because the fucking Europeans came over, raped our fucking people, and now we got really light skin and blonde and
yeah.
blue eyes and green eyes and shit. But regardless, beside the point. What I was saying is,
Your dog.
yeah, no, I'm just listening to these fools
Oh,
going
sorry.
crazy with the donuts. Oh my god. Yeah, so my dog, he has a habit of running out. It was a game to him. He ran and he thought, we learned that if we chased him, he was gonna keep going. So he went out. He got out. Kind of long story short, he got out, and we witnessed him get hit right here on Florence and Ninth. Um, and he bolted onto the street. There was nothing the woman who hit him could do. He bolted out. But it was such a fucking tragic thing to watch. To
Yes.
watch somebody that you love, regardless if it was my dog, it
No,
was
dude, we
somebody.
get so close to our
I
pets.
know,
It's
and I'm
like,
but I'm saying I'm speaking for those people that are going to be like, oh, but it was a dog. Yes, I understand that. And I'm not saying that I'm valuing a dog's life the same as a human, but I'm saying if you bog it down that way, yes. But if you just let it be what it is, it's still love between you and another fucking human life,
exactly.
regardless if it was a dog. And I watched my fucking dog that I loved to death and I took care of with every fucking ounce that I could. Um, watch him get hit and fucking fly in the goddamn street. And I don't mean to be so like detailed about the story, but I feel like that shocks people into reality sometimes. 'Cause I feel like, yeah, I could dance around and be all PC about it. But if I tell you, look, my dog fucking flew like 20 fucking yards in front of me while I'm standing with my 18-year-old son. I've never personally seen anybody get hit by a car.
Yeah.
But it's a very tough situation when you see it. And then on top of that, I also had to snap into what do I do now? As I have these cars barreling in the street and my dog, hurt. So I had to snap into action and I put myself like, it was so frantic in the moment that I just acted on what I thought I had to do. And I even remember the next day, like trying to piece what happened together just because it was like so quick and it's just like bits and pieces that I could recall. Um, but yes, he goes, I run out there and I'm trying to figure out, okay, he's whimpering and he's crying, man. And dude, you don't know how fucking hurtful, like just to remember that right now, how
Yeah.
him whimpering and him crying and him like, he's facing away from traffic. So he can't even see the cars that are behind him. And on top of these cars are now honking at me while I'm trying to gauge his injuries and see how he is. I've been out there for not even a minute. and they're honking. They're honking for me to get the fuck out the road, to the point where my dog felt their fucking anger and their like impatience, and he tried to get up. I kept putting him down, like stay down, stay. He got up at the final time he tried to get up. I just say okay, whatever. So I helped him, and I kept his weight off of him to help him walk to the side of the street, so these motherfuckers could go about their day.
Yeah.
And to me, and like I say, it's not to cause
So
emotion.
nobody really got off their car to help?
Afterward, I had a paisano get out and yell at me about why I let my dog go into the street as I'm trying to put my dog into my car, and he's hurt, and I'm trying to get him to the vet. At this point, he was already on the side of the road. We had our vehicle. We had lived a couple blocks away, so I had my mother-in-law come, and we're trying to load him in, and he's hurt. He's obviously hurt.
Dude, I mean, he's getting hit by a car.
Yeah. And this dude's over here talking shit to me. Oh, blah, blah, blah. We want your information. And I'm like yelling out my information to homeboy. I live right here. Here's my cell phone number. Just take the fucking information because I need to go. Yeah. And
that's not important right now.
Exactly.
Like,
but
piece of your family, it's like
exactly. But like growing in a Latino in a Latino community, I don't know for yourself, but I know I've had plenty of dogs in my life, but Sam was different for me because Sam for me was a lot of learning about dogs. For me, beside the hey, you feed them, you give them a bath, you walk, and I didn't even walk my dogs before, dude. Like we had dogs in more for security purposes, but we fed them, we gave them a bath once a month, and we played with them because they were fun, and that was it. That was the extent. I didn't know they had personalities. I never knew how to read a dog. I never got that too much into it. That's all my wife. Like my wife is very good with pets. She's very like she's amazing. Like I've learned so much like through her, and I got so much closer with Sam because of the things I learned. And I started learning like, dude, they're actual beings, they're more than just, hey, yeah, they're vicious. And, you want them for security sometimes. And, it's like they're actually become a part of our home. And it got to the point where we got a cat in the last year. And I was not a cat guy at all. I was always a fuck cats. I had a roommate who had a cat, I had cousins who had cats, and I did not like cats. But we got a cat because my wife's always had cats. I've always had dogs. She's always had cats. We got a cat. That fucking cat. I love that goddamn cat to death. Bella, I will do anything for that goddamn cat. Yeah. But it got to the point where my wife actually got them to cohabitate. So we would let Sam into the house, and he got to the point where he was completely friendly. Like he never was aggressive towards Bella, but he was a very good dog. And to see that happen and to experience that, the reason I told the story originally was because what I gauged from the story afterward, like in reflection, is it was a tragic accident, and it was very little that could be changed to stop it. Yeah, maybe there was 1,000 things we could all have done different, but dwelling on that doesn't do shit. And he didn't mean to fucking run out in a malicious way. We didn't mean to let him out in a malicious way. That girl that hit him didn't mean to fucking hit him in a malicious way. Yeah. It's just, even the people that were fucking honking at me, I don't think meant to honk in a malicious way. But they're disconnected, and they don't feel my pain. They don't feel my dog's pain. They don't know the relationship. They don't know the story behind us. That's why when you told me like your idea for your podcast, I was like, yeah, man, that's great, man. Because honestly, like people don't understand the power of conversation. Like people think I just talk a lot because I talk a lot. Yeah, that's part of it. I do talk a lot.
Yeah, but they don't know the emotions behind it.
Yeah, and that's how we stay connected. That's how we passed our history down through time. Yeah. We didn't fucking make a goddamn 30-second Instagram video back in back in the olden days to fucking remember our history. They shared it through word, through dinners. That's where dinners, like, that's why like eating with people has always been such a big thing for me, because that was always a time where you broke bread with people and you shared your experiences and you conversed, and that's where the unity and the bonding came.
Yeah, no, that's very important. I mean, just getting to know how someone else's day was, or
And just for you guys know, everybody that's listening right now, me and Juan have never like actually hung out outside of work. This is the first time we've ever hung out outside of work.
Yeah. Very first time.
Like literally, not for any like specific reason, but just because we haven't.
Yeah.
But would you have known this if we wouldn't have had this conversation? Would I have known what I know about you without this conversation?
I mean, it would have taken us to really sit down on a different occasion to discuss this.
And how many good, positive interactions that we had before this? I would say all of them.
Yeah.
Right? But how much substance was in that?
Not much, other than how's your morning and what are you drinking today?
Ice latte?
Exactly.
And how's your weekend? And, what'd you do? I saw you post whatever. And real, like, not to say bad conversations, but real like
Short.
short, real like they not too deep,
Yeah.
not too deep, you know. But that's why like for me personally, I've always been very open with everybody that I come across. I've never took that. I'm defensive to the point where I'm watching you, but I'm never defensive to the point where I'm exclusive.
Got it.
You know, like I don't. I've always been like, hey, if you're friendly with me, I consider you a friend. What level of friend? I don't think is really important in the moment, but I go that route when I think a lot of people go the, oh well, hold on, let me check you out first. Okay, wait, what? Because people really
But
get weirded
yeah,
out when you're just nice to them.
really, very, yeah.
People
And,
look at you
and
sideways.
honestly, for me, working as a barista behind a bar and catering to all different types of people,
Hmm.
yeah, I sort of like you said, I feel that energy sometimes, from different people, and sometimes, I mean, we have a variety of Latinos, Hispanics, um, white people, and black people at the office. So
Yeah, but our office, let's be real, our office is a majority white. Like we are,
it
it
is.
was a company started by white folks, and the demographic was originally for white folks. And I'm not saying this in a negative connotation. I'm saying like that's factually
Yeah.
accurate. You know, um, but at the same thing is I don't associate being white with being bad. I just think a lot of a lot of the problems are still in that community because if you look at the historical context of this country, we're talking about what majority of this country was racist back in the olden days when slavery was around. We're talking in the 90s, 90. If we're talking about 99%, it's like they were racist. So
Yeah.
yeah, if we have 50% of them or 40%, yeah, of course. I'm not saying there's not racist Latinos. I'm not saying there's not racist black
I
folks.
was gonna say that. Yeah,
There's
because
100% are.
even just simple things as stereotypes, and I feel like I am, um, I was, or I feel like I at one point I did use some of those stereotypes, but having friends around, I felt like it was never harmful. But now that I think about it, some stereotypes are
Fucked up.
pretty fucked up. Yeah,
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 pretty fucked up.
and so part of that is us being the problem too, right?
Hmm.
Just using those sort of stereotypes,
But it's also knowing that we have the power. But it's also knowing that we have the power to change something. Um, I reached out, and again, I'm not going to put people on blast right now, but not to say I'm not going to put you on blast later because I'm still watching. But there is local businesses in our area that I know they're not black-owned businesses; they're Latino businesses, and they have a huge fucking clientele of black folks, like a huge Taco Tuesdays, bro. Go up there. They're like fucking 80% of the clients in there are black, and I'm speaking because I frequented these types of businesses, and I've it's bothered me to the point where I'm like, you're not using your platform for anything productive right now, but you're completely benefiting
from all that.
from
Yeah,
the community that's telling you they're hurting right now, and you're turning a blind eye to it. And so I took it upon myself to actually reach out to them and have that conversation with them and just say, hey, I'm just I'm not trying to attack. I don't mean to attack you guys, but I just wanted to kind of bring something to your attention that I've noticed. And if I've noticed, I don't know if anybody else has, but it's like you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Why? Like I'm just wondering why. And they came back to me with, yeah, we're doing some stuff, but just because we're not posting it, I'm like, okay, so like what? And they couldn't tell me anything.
yeah,
And I've spoken to a couple of businesses like this, and it's about accountability, and it's about knowing that you have the power to do something. It's just, do you want to? And that's really where a lot of people are having a hard time right now, because I've had conversations recently with friends, close friends, that we're close friends and they're not getting the full picture. Like they're not understanding that those all lives matter comments or the making excuses, whatever the context of the conversation is, as long as it's dividing the actual message right now, which is Black Lives Matter, defund LA. That's essentially defund LAPD. Those are essentially the two most prevalent conversations I would say are happening right now, right?
yeah,
If it's something that skews from that, then you're a part of the problem. And a
exactly.
lot of people are having a hard time taking that because they feel like they're not racist, but they don't realize, but you are,
Yeah, well,
and you're being it in
that's
this
very
moment right
true.
now. It's the whole like being racist or not being racist and being anti-racist. Like I don't say racist shit. Oh, but I hang out with a bunch of people that do say racist shit, and I don't ever say anything to them. Why don't you say something? If you don't say it, why don't you say it? It's obviously because you know there's something wrong with it. So why don't you at least share your opinion? You might not change their fucking minds, but why don't you share how much it bothers you? Because I'm like I said, there are racists in every fucking community. It is not like just white folks. That is not the thing at all.
Yeah, no,
Not at all. Like not at
I
all.
understand
You
that.
know what I mean? But having those conversations are what put people on notice. Because I always say like, you know what? Fuck it. I've had people tell me like, yeah, but they'll probably just say that, behind your back or something or over there. I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck it. As long as they don't say that shit around me, then I accomplish my mission. I'm not gonna sit here and stew over a hypothetical thing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, if those are people that really care about you and surround you, then if
Exactly.
you expressing yourself bothers them, then they should stay away. You
Yeah.
know?
And I've had people tell me, oh, this is, it's just a difference of opinions. Nah, I know there's memes and shit going around. Hey, it's not a difference of opinions, but it's really not.
Yeah.
This is not
Yeah.
about a difference of opinion right now. It's like if you say you fuck with me and I'm telling you, hey, X, Y, and Z is affecting me, and you're telling me, nah, it's not really affecting you. I'm gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
The fuck are you talking about? I can get into my personal information. I can get into my personal actual stories aside from my dog passing, that really are hitting home right now.
Yeah.
And that's usually when I get these people to fucking snap out of it. When I share those personal, like stuff that I keep private for a reason because it's our it's our private family stuff.
Like I said, it comes down to them not ever experiencing it, and now having you, who they consider a
It's a
friend.
connection.
There's a connection. It's like, whoa, my friend went through that.
I did not fucking know that.
Yeah. So
I did
then
not.
that's when they're like a little more careful about what they say.
But knowing that you don't understand and just knowing that you are aware of that, I think is a big fucking thing for people that they don't give themselves enough credit for it.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people wanting to like stand in the middle ground and they don't really want to, oh, well, yeah, but I can see both sides. They're like, no, see, that's a problem because you're not doing anything. You're just trying not to upset both sides. But I don't give a fuck if you don't want, why do you not want to upset these racists? Why do you not want to upset these killer cops? Notice that I say killer cops and notice how many people think cops in general.
Yeah.
But when I say killer cops, I'm saying hold these motherfuckers that are fucking shooting people in the fucking backs. They're locking up people over bullshit. Call them the fuck out. Hold them the fuck accountable, just like you would a regular private civilian.
Exactly.
That fucking that badge should not be a fucking shield. And if you're a good cop, then you ain't got a fucking problem. So what are you so worried about?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's those that really take advantage of their
But yeah, but like I said, this is a time right now where it's really putting people's morale in question of how complicit you've been in this problem. We've all been complicit. I'm not saying that I have not been complicit. I worked at that fucking finance company I'm talking about for 10 years. And it took me 10 years to come to that realization of what I was doing, and just kind of to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to fucking continue to do this. I'm not. And I'm going to start saying something. And then as soon as I start saying something, boom, here we go. Here goes the, hey, all of a sudden I can't do my job even after I just was offered to run a fucking $12 million branch the month before. All of a sudden next month, after I turn it down and say, hey, it doesn't make any sense for me to take less money.
Yeah.
For me to take less money and more responsibility.
We can't allow you to speak your mind, man.
Of course not. Of course not. That's the fucking worst thing. But we have the ability to change shit. And it literally starts with a conversation. And it literally starts with doing anything.
Yeah.
Go to fucking 7-Eleven. If you buy a water, buy 2 waters. Guess what? 7-Eleven's got a 2-for-1 deal. So if you buy 2 waters, you got 4 waters. You see a dude outside fucking 7-Eleven that's sitting there asking for change, or even a paisano sitting there fucking selling some flowers on the corner. Hey man, you want a water?
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I feel. I mean,
literally
with the vendors on the street, obviously because they're Latinos and I'm Latino and I believe in the whole thing of like working hard, Yeah, every time I see them out there, I try to help by either buying a bouquet of flowers,
Yeah, you support.
buying yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, with this
it's that simple.
with these people that are not really doing much to support, even though they're benefiting from all these communities, I feel like sometimes they feel it needs to be financial help, and it doesn't really have to be financial help all the time.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be financial help all the time. Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
And there definitely should be financial things put in place to correct this shit because, there was systems put in place to fucking, make this shit happen. So why can't we put systems in order to kind of rectify the situations? Yeah. That's kind of how our country's gone. Everything we do in this country, we put a system in place. Everything. Exactly. The water system.
Yeah.
You go to fucking Europe, bro, there's water everywhere for people to drink. Like, they literally have, like, and I'm not talking about water fountains. They have, like, statues with water flowing off of it where you get, like, the runoff. And I tasted it. It is the fucking most amazing, coldest water. I'm talking about the specific one that I'm referring to was in France. Oh my God, it was the first time I had it. We were on a tour, on a bike tour, and they're telling me, the tour, the guy who's leading the tour says, hey, if you look to your left, that's the little fountain right here that we have. It's for public access. Everybody can drink from it. It's just, France provides free water for the people, whatever, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. And I said, I'm going to try that shit. So I got off the bike. I got left behind, but I got off the bike and I filled my because everybody was filling up their bottles.
Yeah.
Like you just see people up there and they're just filling up their water bottles and shit. And then we had been buying water bottles, like at the stores and shit.
Yeah.
So at that point, we're like 2-3 days into our trip, and I'm like, there's water all over the fucking city for free. Why the fuck are we buying water? I got off, I tried that water. Bro, cold as fuck. And it was the best water I've ever had. Like, it didn't taste like, it tasted like what water I imagined should be.
Yeah.
It didn't give me no Aquafina taste. I didn't have no Dasani taste into it. It was just
straight
water
from the source.
Yeah, but you taste water from a fountain here, and it's like you taste the lead,
bleach, and all that
that
stuff.
shit.
Yeah.
It don't taste like regular water. But that's just like a small thing. And I'm not saying that these countries have got it all right. But I'm saying let's take the shit that they do got right, and why do we?
Yeah, there's little things that they do for the community, right? For the people, they their society,
right? And they're small things that people say, oh, but what the fuck? Why? It's fine. I don't have a problem paying for water. Yeah, I get that. But why do we pay absorbent amount of water? Like my bill is ridiculous, and my bill goes, and I'm like, and I can't measure how much water I'm using because even the way they measure it with the meters is so complicated. A common person does not understand how to read a meter.
Nope.
So you read your fucking bill and you say, okay, yep, it's 14 MHZs because most people don't know what the fuck even MHZ stands for, right? Including myself. But I'm like, I know that's what they use to measure it with. And I'm like, okay, so 14 MHZ, all right, that's what it is.
That's how much you have to pay.
Yeah, and then next month I'm like, what the fuck? What's wrong with my bill? Oh shit, there was 26 MHZs this month. All right.
Overwater your garden.
Dude, do you see my front yard? It's fucking dead for the most part.
Yeah.
So I use water, but I have look behind me, rain barrels.
Yeah. See those?
We try to use, I put fucking bark over my soil to keep it damp so it doesn't dry out so much because the direct sunlight will dry it out. That way they don't have to water as much. It's little stupid things like that people don't realize. Like, I could do that, and that's actually something you don't need to fucking boast it to the community. I could tell you about the fucking the watchdog groups that I've put together too, where we've helped pay for fucking specific families in hotels right now that are out of work because of the pandemic because they're laid off.
Yeah.
Who are suffering from the. I have friends that I've gotten together with, and we've raised money. We've gotten equipment together for these people. We've gotten like just people that we know, and I'm broke as fuck. So if I'm broke as fuck, tell me how much these fools that are not broke as fuck can do.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's people that are higher. I mean, up on the upper levels of this country who are taking a lot of that money that it's not being good.
Yeah,
put to good use.
And think about it. There's an uproar about a demand for equality. Not even like, hey man, I want more than you. It's I just want to be treated the same. That's literally the conversation. I just want to be treated the same. And people are like, oh, but it's like, dude, keep it fucking simple. It's that my sister used to always say, oh, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And that shit always stuck with me. And it's like people say, oh yeah, but you simplify things. It's not that simple. It's like, yeah, if you complicate it, it's not that simple. But if you really simplify it, it is that simple.
Yeah.
It really is. Money, the school systems, the government, that's all what we did. When we were put on this fucking earth, I don't think anybody thought that we had LAUSD already around, or LAPD or LA County Sheriffs were around. Those were things that we all created. And if you look at where the fucking cops were created from, they literally it was a way for them to pawn off the expense on taxpayers. And we still defend it. They literally said, hey, these racist folks that wanted to protect their fucking bars, because remember, back in those days, black folks didn't own shit.
No.
Latinos, we weren't in here yet. Native Americans were slaughtered. So white folks owned everything. And they owned the bars and they owned their properties and all that shit. And they wanted to protect it from who did they deem were criminals.
Their own people?
Not even. They were deeming the criminals. Who were the criminals? Because remember, when slavery was abolished, then at that point, those people might not have been slaves, but now they're criminals. Because now you put out thousands of fucking people that were slaves that had nothing into the world with nothing. So where do you think they go? They go to the streets. They go to wherever they need to for survival.
For survival,
Yeah.
exactly.
And now they're deemed criminals. So what do? They can't afford to, as cities grow, they can't afford to protect their bars and their growing assets. So they need to hire a group of people to protect it, aside from the one or two people that they were hiring that were ex-cons or something. Because that's what rich people used to do. They used to hire ex-cons to protect their property.
Yeah.
And then when their property started becoming bars and cities and it started spreading across these growing towns, they needed more people. But that's more expensive. So, hey, you know what we could do? Why don't we get a whole force and they could protect everything? Oh, you know what? And we could all just, we'll have taxes pay for it.
We just have everybody put $1 in so
Yeah.
they get paid, huh?
Why the fuck do I give a fuck that they burn down City Hall? Just don't touch my house.
Yeah.
Burn Hall down to the fucking ground. Garcetti, piece of shit. Mayor Butts in Inglewood, piece of shit. You don't know why I'm saying it? You might want to look into it. Because if I told you Mayor Butts was accused of fucking of sexually assaulting his 13-year-old daughter by his ex-wife, if I told you that he choked out his ex-wife when she confronted it in front of his 13-year-old daughter, this is all in documentation, that's a piece of it. Dude, there is a laundry list of shit. Dude, Garcetti, this bullshit that he's propping up right now, dude, these motherfuckers that use their fucking skin tones, their names to weaponize that shit against their own communities, fuck them. They're worse than white folks that are racist, in my opinion.
No, I see that. I mean,
Dude, because you're using your own fucking community and using your own fucking culture to say, hey guys, don't pay attention to me, but I'm still doing the same shit. The fuck you guys. Mayor Butts ain't doing shit in Inglewood for the fucking community except propping up that city for rich folks to move into. Garcetti ain't doing shit. As soon as they burned down 12 fucking squad cars in downtown LA 2 months ago, he shut down all COVID testing sites as a punishment. All COVID testing sites. They have been killing people left and fucking right. Andres Guardado, recently.
Yeah.
Kenneth Ross, recently. These are guys right down the fucking street from me. Van Ness is 2 blocks over. We can go 10 minutes up, and these guys got killed there by local law enforcement there. And him, Jackie Lacey, haven't been doing shit. So the fact that they're trying to pretend like they're doing something right now, I don't give a fuck about that. Because what have you been doing about it until somebody actually started putting pressure on you? Nothing. So fuck you. Get the fuck out of office. You don't deserve to be there. This is my big problem with people propping up like Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren. Fuck them. I was all for them. I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. More Elizabeth Warren than Kamala Harris, just because I knew her fucking track record as a fucking state attorney, as a state prosecutor. I'm like, you can't all of a sudden say, oh, I want to be the president. Oh, all of a sudden all my shit gets progressive. But I've been locking up fools left and right for fucking weed and destroying their fucking family and locking them up for 10, 20 years for fucking weed. Hey, right over there, I'm growing some weed right there. It's completely legal. I have a joint in my fucking hand right now. It is completely legal. But there are people that are still fucking locked up. And there's a discussion about should we let them out? Why? Real simple. It's a stupid ass fucking reason to lock somebody up and break and cause the trauma that you cause on these families. Because it's not just the person you're locking up. Dude, the trauma between kids, their fucking families at home that you're breaking apart. And then you say, oh, well, there's no black fathers in that community. Well, no fucking shit.
They're all incarcerated.
They're all oh, shit. And what a coincidence. You're also making money on them being incarcerated. Wow. That almost seems like you have a reason to keep them locked up.
Yeah.
And it's like people just refuse to and people that refuse that shit at this point, I'm like, you're either a fucking closet racist, you're a chicken shit, or you're mentally incapacitated.
What I feel like even ignorance, right? I feel like you can't use being ignorant because
100%.
There's a lot of information out there. Right?
And that would fall under mentally incapacitated for me. Because I feel like there are doctors with PhDs that are racist.
Yeah.
So having education that does not absolve you from being a racist. Like these people that are like, oh, well, like, that doesn't mean shit, man. Do you do racist shit? Because all the other shit is great, but do you do racist shit? Are you calling racist shit out?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying you got to fucking start a fight with people, but, you know, letting somebody know, hey, man, that's not okay. Regardless if they say fuck you back, but at least you said something.
Yeah.
You know, it's the whole like, oh, but my opinion, what I say isn't going to matter. that's that's a bigger problem to me.
No, I had something very small, right, that I acknowledge to this person. Simple things of driving in a different neighborhood, in a neighborhood that's dominantly, like
Southgate.
Southgate, right,
Go to Southgate.
or Watts, right. So we were actually around the Watts area, and so this person, I stepped out of the car, and the minute I step out of the car or we park or something, they lock their doors,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why did you do that, And so obviously they verbally don't want to express the reason why they do it, but it's like I
But
know exactly why
yeah,
you're doing it, and having that conversation
you
makes
lock a
them
door
uncomfortable.
so it can't open. Why did you just all of a sudden remember like, oh shit, I don't want this door to open?
Yeah, exactly, right. So the simple reason that stuff crosses your head, it's already putting you in a position that there's a small part of racism there,
Yep. And dude, I remember as a kid, bro, like lighting into people when they used to say racist shit like to my mom. Because my mom's got a very thick accent. I mean, her English is much better, but back in the day, she learned to speak Spanish and to speak English and everything. And but I remember a couple of specific instances, like at laundromats when we were washing clothes, and somebody I remember a specific incident was like it was this like younger black girl that was talking shit to my mom, started clowning her because of her English, and I was probably I don't know 11, 10, and I remember just like that's like one of the first times in public where I just like snapped into like just fucking like full blackout mode. And I remember just talking so much shit to her. Like never saying anything like crossing a line with her, but just telling her like "fuck you," what the fuck? That's some racist shit. Like what the fuck?
Yeah,
And like, it doesn't matter that you're a black person saying that shit. Racist shit is racist shit, no matter what. That's what I'm saying. I
yeah.
was like, it's not a white and black thing. Hell no.
No.
Hell, Cory Booker, fuck that fool. Kamala Harris, fuck her too. Elizabeth Warren, fuck you too. And I could tell you the reasons exactly why. Anybody that's still fucking with them, you're getting played for a fool. Elizabeth Warren, when she dropped out of the fucking race, she dropped out super late intentionally to split Bernie's fucking votes. She already had said she was going to drop out, but she didn't officially drop out so people could still vote for her. And then those progressive votes get split in half, right? Why? Because she's probably got a nice little fucking administrative position already set up,
Yeah.
promised her. And she's already like, well, I'm not going to win, so let me go to plan B. Kamala Harris, same shit. Why did she drop out so fucking early? She was actually one of the stronger candidates on the Democratic side in the beginning. And she dropped out way too early. And I'm not even rooting for her. And I was like, damn, really? That seems really weird because she seems like a very strong woman. She seems like a very intelligent woman. But that move to me, and I don't feel like I even have like that level of experience. And I'm like, it seems pretty blatant to me. You know? It's like, why would you do that kind of shit? And now all of a sudden, when all this shit's coming up, it's like you're the like Cory Booker and Kamala Harris. We're putting these fucking bills through. Just so you know as well, I don't subscribe to Democrats, to Republicans. I think that's another issue. I think anything that divides you in this country, race, religion, politics, all those were all put in place to divide us. And there are reasons to divide us. I don't give a fuck if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, if you're a libertarian, if you're part of the fucking Green Party. I don't give a fuck what you are. If you're a socialist, my ideals honestly fuck a lot with socialism,
Yeah.
but not necessarily because I identify with a socialist. It just kind of the way it works out when you're a good person, I guess. It's like for those people like, oh yeah, you're claiming yourself as a good person. Yeah, let's think about it. If Jesus Christ were alive today and had to subscribe to a political party, what political party would he be a part of? Jesus Christ, a man of the people, a man born into poverty that lived amongst the people and fought for everybody to have something and was killed at the hands of the fucking Roman Empire, the goddamn government at the time, persecuted and fucking killed in front of his fellow man as an example. And he said, I'm down. I'm not even a religious person, but I grew up in a Catholic family, very heavily Catholic. I went to a Catholic high school. I had religion class. I had fucking mass at school. I am not religious now. I always say I'm a spiritual person now. I believe there's a person out there. I think whether it's Buddhist or whatever, if that's what you feel and that's what you, great.
Yeah,
I
that's what I
respect.
tell people all the time, that I'm agnostic, right? And like you said, coming from a Latino family, I was born and raised Catholic. I was like, I did my confirmation, my first communion, and all that. But I, I believe there's a higher power, but I don't think I follow someone specifically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
And it's like, we won't know till we're there.
Yeah.
So it's like, how is everybody so sure of this? It's like, as long as you understand that we're not so sure of it, then there shouldn't be any problem. I come from a very family where it's like tunnel vision type religion. You know, it's like where if it's outside what the Bible says, oh man, we are burning shit down to the ground. But and I've always said, like, dude, just play the game telephone. Just how quickly does shit get lost in translation over time? Just from passing it from one person to the next. On a game of telephone, you can't get that message there.
No, it's always it gets mistranslated
Yeah,
midway. You know.
yeah. But I don't know, man. The conversations definitely need to keep going, and yeah, we have to be uncomfortable. I've been very uncomfortable. I've been very. The world is a very sad place for me at times right now when I let it be, and then I remember that it's not, and I remember the times that I'm out there, and that's what I'm saying is that you're out there at these protests. Like, I don't know these people personally, but I stood next to Andres Guardado's dad. He walked by me in the fucking crowd that I was in. Kenneth Ross at his rally that there was a few weeks ago. I was there. His family was there. I was walking right next to him, and I don't even know. And I'm not saying like I was like talking it up with him. I'm just saying we were in a crowd of community, and we're walking with these people that are being affected. It's not a social media thing, and it's not a like I've had people like, oh, just because you post shit, and I'm like, it's not just I'm posting shit just because I want other people around me, directly around me, to see what I'm seeing. Whether they believe it or not, that's fine. But I'm just putting it out there. If you don't see a lot of my captions, I don't even put a lot of my opinion into a lot. I've maybe a couple of them I put a little bit, but a lot of times I find myself deleting shit that I say because it's a lot of my opinion, a lot of my emotion. So I just want to leave it out there for what it is and just be like, look, you're gonna make whatever decision you make from it, regardless, and that's gonna be all on you. I
Yeah, and
can't
that's
change
part
it.
of like the reason why I reached out to you too, because I saw what you were posting. I know you were very active in all of this protests and stuff, and I felt really comfortable and close enough to you to actually have this conversation.
See,
Yeah,
mission accomplished. And
yeah,
that fucking makes me feel better because I don't know if this shit's been working or what. I've had
yeah,
conversations with people and I've ended a lot of friendships during this time, but I feel like I've also shown people that maybe didn't see something and they've changed their messaging since then.
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm not out there saving the fucking world, but I'm at least talking to the people around me and trying to make sure that people around me are accountable for what they're saying, that I'm accountable for what I'm doing because I can't keep saying nothing's happening and blah blah blah, and then I'm doing jack shit.
yeah. No, I think there's a big majority of people out there that are always just scrolling to stories. And like I said, they know what's happening. They
Yeah,
see what's happening. They see
you don't need to
where
keep
their
seeing it.
people, yeah, where their people are are investing their time, but they're the ones that decide to stay quiet and not do anything.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's just because they don't understand that doing anything is better than doing nothing. Like
Yeah,
literally, like fucking buy some water. You know what? You want to get a program going? Literally go with like $10 to 7-Eleven by yourself on a Saturday. Buy $10 worth of waters. Buy the buy one get one. That's 20 waters, and just go in the neighborhood and just start handing them out. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to identify people as homeless.
yeah,
If you see somebody that looks like they're thirsty, give them a fucking bottle of water, man. It don't matter if they're rolling in the car next to you. I literally the day that shit came to me, I went. I'll tell you exactly how it occurred to me. I was Florence and right by over by your pad actually, La Cienega in Florence. You know how there's usually like a couple like homeless dudes that post up
oh
there, and then
yeah,
there's like
yeah, right by the
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I know exactly what you're
and
talking
then
about.
there's that couple that sell the flowers and stuff. So it was a hot ass day. It was like 90 degrees or something. I was buying stuff for my wife's birthday. We were getting ready to celebrate her birthday that day. So I'm coming back and it was hot as fuck, dude. Because I was hot as fuck. My AC don't work in my car, so I know the struggle, man. But my AC wasn't working, so I knew how hot it was, and I wanted to buy some flowers for my wife that day. So I was like, you know what? Grab some sunflowers off of
Yeah,
them. And I was like, no dinero, nada de dinero, no cash. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, hey, do you guys have Venmo or something? And they're like, no, we don't. I was all right. Let me go to the 7-Eleven across the street real quick. So I go to the 7-Eleven, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to just, okay, I'll get a water. And then the girl's like, oh, if you get another one. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna get them a water.
yes,
I ended up with 4 fucking waters somehow. Is what I'm saying. When I went back on the corner when I'm trying to turn back onto the street onto La Cienega, there's a dude just chilling right there in the shade, and you could tell homeboy is hot. I don't know if he was homeless or whatever the case is, but you could tell he was hot because he was like off, like trying to like duck under the shade, on the side of the street.
yeah,
And I was like, hey, bro, you want some water? And he was like, oh, hell yeah. And he ran over to the car real quick, and I handed it to and that was it. Like I said, it wasn't. It's not about whether he was homeless or what he was. He looked like he was thirsty, you know.
Yeah.
Then I went to back to buy my flowers. I gave him the water. There was another dude that usually is there asking for money. I've seen them there for years. He was there, and I told him, "Well, I got a fourth." So I was like, "Hey, you want this water?" You know what he did? He turned around and he gave it to them,
Oh wow.
not knowing that I already had given them water.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Nah, bro. Like, if you don't want it, it's fine. I'll take it back." And he was like, "No." He was like, "No, no." He's like, and he took out a water from his bag. He's like, "I have a water already." So he was trying to give it to them, not realize. He's like, "Well, I already gave them water too, just so you know." But I you know, in the moment, I just didn't see for the small gesture that he made to them, you know?
Yeah. And that's all it takes, right?
That's
Those
all it
small
takes.
little things.
100%. Like you just doing this fucking episode, if you get maybe somebody else that listens to this and is like, wow, maybe they got something for themselves out of this,
Yeah.
then you did your job. If you got 1,000 people, fuck, even better.
Even better.
But if you get one, hey, that's one. If that one gets two, if that two get fucking three,
And even those that get uncomfortable with it. You know?
100%. Even the ones that, because at some point it's going to come up. You're not going to be able to avoid it. A lot of people are trying to avoid it, thinking this is going to go away,
Yeah.
and it's not.
It's not. Dude.
It's not.
No, I feel like we have this new generation that needs to learn. Obviously, the new. I don't know, the new rules or the new. I don't know. There's no separation, right? They need to know that there's no separation. We're all equals.
Because there's so much separation. Because even like
Yeah.
what you said earlier, the agnostic thing, like I would even say that could be an issue just because it's almost like they gave you a piece of the pie, you know. And as opposed to what I'm saying is just
No-
get the line, just remove the lines,
Yeah.
and there's no pie. The whole pie is the whole pie. You know, why do
Yes.
we? Because if you think about it, if you're fighting off an enemy, is it easier to fight them off in small groups, or is it easier to fight them off in a large fucking army? Of course, a smaller group would be much easier. So if you fight off the gays over here, if you fight off you fight off Latinos over here, you fight off blacks over here, you fight off whites over here, you fight off the Catholics over here, you fight off the Republicans over here, the Democrat. We're a much smaller group every time you put those lines around us.
Yes.
Even look at it. They came here and they literally split this fucking country up. They literally took this country and then they split it up. The first fucking thing they said, don't fucking come. Nope, you motherfuckers better not.
Well, how do you feel about the whole census situation?
See, and that's a touchy one for me because I'm kind of like, fuck the census. But then people tell me like, and I understand what they say about, hey, what the importance of the census is. But at the same time, I'm kind of like,
Yeah, because I feel like I
It's-
feel that way too, where it's like, well, I mean, they're sort of categorizing us, and
Yeah.
all this stuff.
it's like I don't believe they give a fuck is the problem. So when you tell me that, hey, these things inside these corrupt systems are doing good, I'm kind of like, yeah, but I don't. In the foundation of it is I don't think they give a fuck. And they don't give a fuck because they don't feel our force. It's like even like the sports debate right now. Like I don't know where I know you were saying your wife's a big sports fan.
Correct.
I don't know if you're like a sports fan to the point where like you've kind of like have an opinion on the whole sports coming back right now. You know how they're trying to bring back the NBA and it's already set in there. We got a calendar date set, right? Like how do you feel about that? Like do you see a problem with sports coming back?
I feel like I do, in a way, just because it's sort of like I feel like people are trying to push the focus onto like, oh, sports now. Like,
Yeah.
get your mind off of whatever's happening,
Yeah.
and start watching sports.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
what are you doing? Now you're segmenting that group off. Oh, look, hey, now you got something else to keep your mind entertained. I have friends that I've get into it all the time. Yeah, but I just want to watch the sports. Not a big deal. They can still like push their message. I'm like, yeah, but after you sit back and watch like fucking 8 hours of NBA basketball, I'm glad LeBron James said something in his post game conference. But I think he could say the same thing on his Twitter page
Yeah.
because he's got like fucking tens of
Instead
millions of people.
followers, Yeah.
He's bigger than the NBA. He does not need the NBA. If they really wanted to do something outside the NBA, LeBron would be the perfect person to spearhead it because he's the only fucking NBA player that is larger than the organization. There are other large personalities, Steph Curry, all these guys, but they don't carry the same influence as LeBron James. And I am not a LeBron James basketball player fan. I am a diehard Laker. It was not pleasant for me to see him come here. I am a diehard LeBron James fan as a person, as a father, as a citizen. I'm a diehard fan of him for that, and that has been recent for me for the last 5 years. Up until that point, I'm like, dude, I don't like his game. Everything's been handed to him on a silver platter, essentially coming into the league. You know, that was kind of. But I was more of a sports fan. But as far as like the conversation of sports coming back right now, it's exactly what you said. You know, it's going to divide the message. It's going to give people perfect example. Let's go back to Dave Chappelle. You said you saw the Dave Chappelle
I did.
846, right? So the moment where he's talking about watching Kobe go in his last game, right?
Yes.
And go for 60 or go for 60 shots. I'm sorry, 50 points. But he talks about how he didn't think that Dallas shooting was as big of an issue because if you looked across
Everybody
the
was
country,
focused on that.
yeah, and there was a large, and even him, he's what you would deem woke, right? Dave
Yes.
Chappelle, you could say, I think it's fair to say he's pretty fucking woke, right? And he's been saying this kind of shit for a while. So for somebody like that telling you, like, even I'm paying attention, and even that shit,
It
I was like
switching
back and forth. That tells you the power that simple thing will have. And it's like, oh, you know, they need to work too, but money is fake, guys. If we
Plus, they already have contracts, dude. That they're pretty set for
yeah,
now.
and if they fucking squander their millions of dollars that they've made over the last, I mean, sign up for unemployment, man. I'm sorry that it's not millions of dollars, but I've made it. I mean, if we're talking about surviving, you'll survive. Whether you'll be able
Yes.
to keep your 7 estates, maybe not. Maybe you got to sell a couple of estates to
Yeah,
get
I
you
mean,
through the next couple of
I
centuries.
know a lot of people, including my family, my parents, who can't qualify for unemployment, and they're still making it happen.
And you're still because you can still make it happen. That's why people say, "What about cops? You know, they're losing their jobs." Hey, man, I've been unemployed 3 times. I've said this over and over again. Nobody's batted an eye while I've been on unemployment. 2 of the 3 times I've had a family of 5 that I've been supporting, and I have bounced back every fucking time. Whether it's I've had to fucking be a jardinero. You're standing in my garden right now, bro. Literally, when we bought this house, there was nothing. It was dirt all around. No grass, no trees, not one fucking plant. It was literally all that was dirt. The mulch, dirt. Everything you see here, I've done in 6 years, almost 7. This year will be 7 in December.
Nice.
And my wife looks at it and I'm like, dude, we created an ecosystem back here. But it's because you don't gauge the impact of a small action.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and also my fear with sports coming back to it's like, what's gonna happen with all these athletes, right? Obviously, what if they all take a knee now, or like,
Yeah.
with NASCAR removing the flag and all this?
Yep.
It's so controversial.
Yep.
And now with all these sports coming up, what's gonna happen next, right? And so obviously it's gonna bring up a lot more anger. It's gonna bring up all these fans who are excited for the sports to come back. Then they're gonna be like, oh, well, why are they back if they're gonna be acting like this?
Yeah, because they can and because they still have power because you won't turn the fucking TV off. I haven't watched an NFL game in 3 years, and I'm actually, this is funny that we're talking about this, but I'm actually going to put, I don't know if there's anybody else out there who shares similar, as strong of feelings as me about the NFL, locally, I'm saying. Obviously, Colin Kaepernick and those people, yes. But I mean, like, as amongst friends in my community, you know, because I for the last 3 years, I haven't watched an NFL game, and the NFL was my shit. Like, dude, when the NFL season came, I was a diehard Cowboy fan since the 90s, dude. I was on the verge of getting 2 fucking Cowboy stars on each elbow in the last couple years. And when the court transcripts came out for the Kaepernick case, and I'm sitting here reading Jerry Jones, pretty much saying like, yeah, we're racist. Yep, we don't give a fuck. Nope, money's more important than you guys.
Yeah.
Like talking, I mean, that's aside from the CTE stuff. You know, that they knew people were fucking themselves up and they were straight up lying about that. You know, it's like these organizations are telling you we're racist, but you're gonna keep watching us because you guys are too fucking weak to stop. You're too weak to fucking turn off a TV. And you know what players could really do if they wanted to? They could form their own league. Because guess what? If Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, James Harden, Anthony Davis, Danny Green, fucking Zion Williamson, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, fucking Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, I can go on and on.
Dude, you're so right.
If they just said, you know what, fuck it. You know what, we're gonna go to on Sundays we're gonna go to Venice Beach and we're gonna start a little tournament there and we're gonna get a professional company to stream this shit and we're about to make our own fucking league.
Even if they base it off donations, like, they're definitely
Who's
gonna
gonna watch the NBA if LeBron James, Zion Williamson, and all these guys are in this other new independent league, and you already know that they are the reason you're watching the NBA? You're not going to give a fuck what Adam Silver is doing. You're not going to care about Mark Cuban. You're not going to care about Jeannie Buss. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they provide the financial backing, but they are not, they're trying to make you believe that they have an equal stake in this. That is about as much as they have.
I think it comes down
Nothing more than that.
with the
Equal.
whole money situation. I think it comes down to actually watching the game for the love of the sport, right? Because also with the contracts and stuff, my personal belief is a lot of these people are making a lot of money, but I feel like now they're more focused on how much money they can make and not necessarily whether they still love playing or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some of these guys don't even love playing, and they're just there for the money.
Yeah.
Andrew Bynum for the Lakers, he didn't start playing until I think his senior year in high school, and all only because he was like 7 feet tall, pretty much. So they were like, "Hey, man, you should." And he was apparently he was big into like chemistry and science and shit. He was like a big dweeb apparently, and then he just happened to sprout to like 7 feet tall, and they're like, "Hey, man, you can make millions of dollars," and he's obviously a smart guy, so he said, "All right, fuck it." He developed his game, but he didn't care. And if you hear his story, he left the league on a terrible terms. And to me, it just sounded like he was like, "Fuck this league, I'm over it."
Yeah.
You know, he was making a ton of money, but he just didn't have the love of the game. You know, and it's an
And I just
unfortunate
feel like
truth.
it reflects on like the actual court, right? Or like even with you and I, if you're doing your job and you're just waking up every morning and showing up and you're not really into what you're
Just going
doing,
through the
it's
motions.
just miserable,
Hmm.
and obviously your bosses are gonna see that.
Hmm. Everybody you deal with is going to see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Your conversations are going to be that.
exactly.
I'm a
So like,
very negative person.
no,
I'm, and
and
I'm a habitual complainer, by the way.
dude, and for me, like being a barista, like being behind bar, like people that are coming in, like don't want it. That's the last thing they
Yeah.
want to experience.
They want to disconnect. They want a positive experience. They want what they deserve,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
everybody deserves.
exactly. So
Just get my coffee and treat me like a person.
and I feel like if all these bigger companies will follow that, I mean,
But they have that's what I'm saying. But a lot of these companies, if you look at them historically, a lot of these companies are, generational wealth companies. And where's the generational wealth coming from? It's stemming from racism and, these cotton fields and all this fucking labor that they got for free through slavery. And they've kept it like in the police force and in all these fucking departments, these first responder departments. I'm sure there's a lot of racism going on just because, I'm sure if there was a racist police chief back in the day who was like, I want to get my son in here and I'm going to get him in here because we've heard plenty of stories about like nepotism and shit like that. What do you think? So if they breed a son into racism and shit like that, and then now they bring their son into it, and now their son's bringing their son into it,
yeah,
and and I'm sure it's not just them. They're also bringing friends into it. If you look at some of these fucking police forces, dude, they're adopting some of these fucking like white supremacist groups as like extended arms of law enforcement, like during these times. Because that's what they used to do back in the day. They used to fucking go around. Have you looked into the story of Tulsa, Oklahoma?
no,
Dude, check that shit out. It is crazy as fuck. If I'll send you a video that does a really good job. Literally, it was a town after slavery where black folks finally were able to create and sustain their own economy. Like they had a full flowing city. They used to call it Black Wall Street. They had businesses, banks, and it was just they used to call it a lot of fucking racist shit too, N-word town and stuff like that. What literally happened is that some guy was about to get pretty much lynched, and the citizens from Tulsa, pretty much like a lot of the retired vets and people that had like background in that, they took arms and they fucking went to that city hall to be like, nah, to stop it. And these motherfuckers pretty much took offense and came back and started fucking them up. So these fools retreated back to Tulsa. They went to Tulsa and burned the motherfucker down. They pretty much went and grabbed trucks full of guns and started passing them around to every, obviously at the time it was white motherfucker there. So it was like every white dude that was there, grab a gun, let's go. And they went and they fucking were pulling people out of their businesses. They were looting, they were killing, and they burned down a whole fucking city. You know what happened when those cities tried to put insurance claims in on their businesses?
or reject it.
All of them.
Fuck, dude.
The only fucking city where they finally were getting it, and they had their own, and they didn't need fucking white folks. They were self-sustained. They had developed their own. That's exactly what we need to do now, man.
Yeah.
There was a boy that got lost down the street a couple nights ago, and I saw it online. Somebody, this girl that I follow, is a local reporter. She goes by Slauson Girl, Slauson like Slauson
Yeah.
Avenue. Yeah, Slauson Girl, and she's very good. You know, I'm not saying I agree with everything she says all the time, but I just kind of I've just started following her, and I like a lot of the stuff she puts out. And she keeps it real. But she put out a little. She reposted somebody else's post where a boy, literally a block from me, we're on 74th. 74th Street School is like 2 blocks down. He was lost. Apparently, LAPD found him. He was roaming. They found him roaming. He didn't know any of his information. So LAPD took him down to 77th Division down here. And then people were saying, hey, you know, spread the word. Like, can we ID him? Let's see if we can find out who his family is. And it's as easy as reposting it and resharing it. And if you know you have friends that have a lot of followers and shit, talk to them
Yeah.
because they'll be able to get eyes. So I'm lucky enough that I have a lot of friends who are fucking geniuses, like musical geniuses, a lot of creatives, artists. I'm very I'm very blessed with the amount of people that I've had the pleasure of getting to know in my life. Like and I know a lot of people that do have like a large followings and they're in the neighborhood and shit like that at times. So I do ask them sometimes, like, and I know how it might come off, you know, and I'm like, but you know what? It's fine. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about making sure that as many people as possible can see this fucking kid's face right now, you know? Because people are like, oh, they don't understand the premise behind it.
Yeah.
So, and then I posted it on Ion Inglewood, which is a little private Facebook group. And if you live in Inglewood, you know Ion Inglewood. It's a big, very, very big Facebook community. They post a lot of nonsense in there. But if you want to know what's going on in Inglewood, you go on Ion Inglewood and you'll find out. So I posted it on there, and somebody said, "Oh, I think I saw in another post that that they found his parents." And I was like, "Oh, really?" So I started searching, and I couldn't find anything on it. So you know what I said? I like, you know what? This is kind of crazy. I'm gonna call the police station. So I just called the police station and I talked to the detective because it said the sergeant that brought him in, I guess. So I was like, "Can I speak to so and so?" And they were like, "Oh, what are you calling in regards to?" Because I guess they were getting calls about it. And I just said, "Yeah, why can't I just call and confirm?" And yeah, they straight up said, "Yeah, he was reunited with his family just a little while ago."
Amazing, man.
Right? And I was like, "Cool." And I just went on my shit and I literally updated the caption just to say, "Hey," just so people would see like this works, man.
Yeah.
Like people think it's real stupid, like, oh, wasting time on social media. But if you understand, social media is the X factor right now. The internet is the fucking X factor. This is why they can't control us right now. In 1992, this shit went away immediately because there was no internet. People didn't know about that shit that didn't live in the area till the next day or till that night when it was reported on the news.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And now within 10 minutes, the world knows.
And I think part of that also holds the news media from actually lying or
Exactly.
or changing.
And they
the
still try.
facts.
And they still do it. Left and right, dude. Left and fucking right. I was my first episode, so I'm starting a new podcast. It's called The Leadoff Hitter. So any of your people, if you guys want to, follow, feel free to. It's called The Leadoff Hitter. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. It's gonna be audio for now, but it's essentially, I'm a sports guy, so you're gonna hear a lot of sports in it, but it's not a sports podcast. So I am gonna keep a lot of community shit in here. I'm gonna start getting more involved in the community around me. Like I'm a part of District 8 with Marquise Dawson Harris. Did not know that up until recently, but I decided, you know what? I need to start getting involved, and I need to start seeing what the fuck's going on, and I need to start identifying issues in our area that we need to bring up to these fucking council meetings. I'm a big mouth, so you know what? I'm gonna use my fucking strength. I'm gonna be a fucking big mouth. People can't stand my fucking mouth when I open it. But I don't give a fuck because that's the other quality I have as well, that I don't care.
Yeah.
So I'm using that, and I'm going to try to include that with my podcast because for me, my podcast is also more about venting and being able to, it's more of a vlog, I guess you could say, in a way, because it's my avenue to vent. I don't play sports anymore. I used to play Sunday League, and I fucked up my shoulder a few years back, so can't even do that. Got bad knees, so playing basketball a lot of times is not the thing to do.
Like you said with social media too. I mean, the podcast will be like another outlet to reach out.
Yeah, and it's a way to me to reach out to multiple people, even if it's 10 people, even if it's 5 people.
Yeah.
I've had followerships of 399 people. I wish I had that right now.
Yes.
Because that would be great if I could talk to 400 people and convince 20 of them of something. I'd
your
win.
achievement. Yeah.
Win, because if those 20 people get one more person, that's another 20 people. They get another 20 people. They get another, and that's the way when you start thinking on a global level, that's when it becomes, at least for me, I've noticed that's when I bog down and it becomes such an insurmountable like problem. When you start thinking like fucking Trump and the shit he's doing and the shit that's going on in the world and all this crap, it's like, yeah, you feel helpless. that's why I'm like, okay, I need to get back and I need to impact my fucking community. So my community can impact their community, and their community can impact their community, and that's literally the way it has to fucking start.
That's how it is.
And it's a simple ass topic. Simple. Literally, just keep the people around you accountable.
And that's how we make the change, man. So where do people follow you for? It's the
So it's just the Leadoff Hitter, which is funny because somebody mentioned that it looks like it says the lead of Hitler. It's not. It's not that. It's the Leadoff Hitter.
hitter.
So yeah. Or you could just, it's under Ray _ El Barbon, Ray REY, Ray like King _ El Barbon. But yeah, you can follow me in there. I'm a big mouth. Even if I'm not putting podcasts out, you'll probably see some shit on my page regardless. But,
It's fun to hear, man. It's fun to hear.
yeah,
You know?
well, I appreciate it. I'm glad somebody's listening. You're the first person that I actually know has like said something specifically about what I've been posting. So I appreciate that.
I really appreciate your time also that you took out of your day to sit down here with me and
Well, shit, we ain't got much
have
to
this
do.
conversation.
We ain't got much to do, right?
It's fun, man. I mean, I'm glad we have this interaction and
Yeah.
you get to vent, you know.
Yeah. I'm just glad to be able to contribute to to the conversation, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I know I don't have all the answers, but
Correct.
I know I have some. You know.
No, but like I said, just hearing your perspective, you know, I mean, obviously there's hundreds of people out there and have a different perspective of what's going on,
Hmm.
but this is us sharing how we feel.
Yeah.
And for me, like just listening to you also is just learning
Yeah.
how you feel and then how, not necessarily how I should feel, but what I should pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you have to develop. It's a game plan. That's the thing that, like, in the beginning when all this happened, I wasn't really. I was trying to observe and listen to what was going on because I didn't bullshit you not. Ask my wife. Ask my wife and ask one of my buddies who's one of the ones who's been harping on me about political activism for the last 10 fucking years. And I'd been like, God, I've been, here he goes again, right? And now I've been going to protests. I'm in his ear constantly, like, hey, bro, what do you think about this? Because I want to absorb as much information. But in January, around the Ahmaud Arbery time, when that whole thing came out with Ahmaud Arbery, I told my wife, if they handle this shit wrong, there's going to be a fucking. What did I tell her? I said, I told her a civil war, is what I told her, and she said, "No, you're crazy, you're crazy." And my wife's, I'm like, and I'm not saying because I think it needs, not because I'm saying I'm hoping for it, but I understand from watching what I'm watching is like history repeats itself. This is the needed evil, I guess, to get rid of the predominant evil. Because once that predominant evil gone, then the rioting goes away, which means it's gone, right? Racism will never go away, but we got to keep calling it out. But I told her that. I told my buddy that. He also said I was crazy. And then this whole shit broke out. And I've told them both since. I'm like, hey, so what do you guys think of that whole I'm like,
Prediction?
yeah. I'm like, and I'm not even boasting about it to boast about. I'm just saying I was paying attention to what's going on. I was like, with the pandemic, with the anger I was feeling, I could see it. I could see it brewing. I'm like, dude. And then when the George Floyd thing out, I was like, well, shit. Yeah, 100%. Because if that George Floyd thing didn't come out, who knows what they would have done with Ahmaud Arbery? Because that might have not been so big. And they might have given these fools like, hey, parole or some shit. And they were right back on the street. But it's the pressure that we're adding, you know? So people that are saying,
it
like,
takes a village, they say, you know? So
it takes a village, man.
thank you very much again, man. I think we're going to end this and hopefully add another podcast next time.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Continue this.
I know it was a long one.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
People are gonna love hearing this.
And
So,
he said.
yeah. I really appreciate that. And I really hope we can sit down and chat a little again.
Yeah, man. Whenever. I mean,
All right.
like I said, we ain't got much.
Got it, man. Until next time, bro.
All right.